All right, for those who've already joined us, we're just going to give a minute for a couple extra people to get in the room and then we'll get started. Okay, we're going to get started here. Well, good morning to everyone who could join us live. I know it's difficult with the schedule sometimes to have you here live, but hopefully, well, I'll say good morning, and it might be a snowy morning for those of you joining us live, and for the rest that are joining us at a later date on demand. Hope you're having a good day as well. I'm just going to get through a couple things here before I turn it over to the main part of our program here, which is the Electrician Career Exploration Program. But before we do that, my name is Kevin Atnell. I'm the Executive Director of York County Alliance for Learning. YCAL specializes in making connections between schools and employers so we can help students engage, or so we can engage students rather in career exploration, career development. So we try and go out and make those relationships with these employers so then they can talk to you about different career opportunities. And if you do have any just general questions about careers, my email address is there on that slide. And also you can check out the YCAL website. And I'll talk about a few extra things that we have just in just a moment. But really, I want to mention today's all about career exploration. We want you to be able to get information, explore different careers, and make a decision that's going to work for you. We don't have the right answer. We can't tell you what you want to do with the rest of your life. That has to be up to you. So after today, after this program or this video, depending on when you're watching it, there's likely to be three outcomes. Number one could be it's going to help you realize you're on the right track and you're making the right decision. And this is the area that you're interested in. It might leave you saying, I think I'm on the right track, but I need to collect a little bit more information before I make a final decision. Or it could leave you saying, you know what, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be. I don't think this is for me. I need to potentially look at something else. So all three of those things are okay. We're here to help you explore, answer your questions, and hopefully, again, lead you to make the right decision that's going to be good for you in the long term. So why are we doing this now? Well, most of you who are going to be viewing this are in high school. Some you may be graduating in just a month or 2 months. Others maybe have 4 or 5 years left because maybe even some middle school students are watching this. So what's the next step? Do you go and get a job right out of high school and get an entry-level position and get trained and hopefully work your way up? Do you pursue an apprenticeship program so you can get trained and get paid at the same time? Do you need a special certification, special course or special training to get that job that you're looking for? Or do you have to go to a college? And when I say college, that could be a 12-month certificate program, an 18-month associates, 21-month associates, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, who knows? So if you have to go to college for the ultimate career that you want to have, how long do you have to go? So we're trying to get you to get to a point where you can make better decisions and what I like to call maximizing your ROI. ROI stands for return on investment. When you spend any money on anything involving your education, no matter what it is, whether it's a one-day program online or whether it's a 8-year doctoral program, you're hoping at some point you're going to get a return on that money that you put out. So the idea is that you get that education, you spend that time and money, but then you make more a little bit later down the road to pay it back. So we want you to maximize your ROI. For those who may go the college route, just wanted to share a few things, and this is by no means anti-college. It's really just pro career exploration while you're in high school. That's my main agenda. So average college student's going to change majors 3 times. 80% of you will change majors at least once. So you go into college with one plan, that plan is going to most likely change once. College, as I'm sure you've heard, is expensive. In Pennsylvania, it's almost $29,000 a year after you add up the tuition, books, and all that other fun stuff. If you start to change majors, a lot of times that pushes your graduation date back a bit. So maybe that's an extra semester or an extra year or an extra 2 years of tuition that you're going to pay before you can finally get your degree and get to actually making some money in a full-time position. So we want you to use what you have now, use these resources, use your counselors in high school to make the best decisions to hopefully be on the better end of those statistics I just shared. Just a shameless plug before we get going. We have, this is one of about 30 different career exploration programs that YCAL's offered this year. Every single one of them was virtual this year. We unfortunately could not go on site and visit some of these cool places, but we have a lot of great partners that were willing to step up and sometimes even step out of their comfort zone and host these virtual programs. So we certainly thank them for that. Most of these are actually available on demand now. We have, after today, we have 2 more programs through the end of April, and then that's it. Then they're all available online and you can watch them at any point. So if you go to the YCAL website later on today or any other time, you can find almost all of them are now available. You can register and view them. Okay, so one last thing, we're getting to the good part. Thank you to Scott, and I'll let him explain the various companies we can say that he represents, the various organizations. I'll let him explain that. But IBEW, York Electrical Institute, rather, really appreciate Scott taking the time to do this. They have been just great partners and really just helping promote their industry and helping us tell students some of the great opportunities that are out there. So thank you to Scott, and well, we'll just say thank you to Scott. Forget the other guys; they're not here today. No. Thanks to Tim as well. All right. So I wanted to mention, if you have a question at all throughout this program, now I know a lot of you aren't here live, so you may not be able to interact, so you might have to email us later. But if you do have a question and you're here with us live, there's a Q&A button at the bottom. I kind of put a little picture of what it would look like with the green circle going around it. Press that button at any time. Go ahead and type in your question, and we will get to it as soon as we can. If you could, just leave the chat function open. We'll just use that to maybe list our contact information or any other resources, but I don't want to accidentally miss any sort of question in there. And lastly, if for some reason, I know we're dealing with a bunch of schools with different class schedules, if you would have to leave for some reason to go to your next class or fire drill or anything fun like that, you can always click on the link that got you here today. If you click on that, about an hour after the program ends, you can view the video and just forward along to wherever you had to leave, and you can finish up that way. So. All right, that's enough for me. I'm going to exit out of my screen share, and I'm going to turn it over to Scott for, as I said, the good part of the program.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm going to get set up here real quick. Like I said, talk about being out of a comfort zone. This is it for me because I like being live. So share my screen.
I hope there's a railing behind you in that background that you're using.
Right.
When I first saw it, I was like, that looks dangerous.
Again, good morning and welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Scott Brenneman. I'm a journeyman electrician for over 35 years. And the last 2 years, I've actually been in the office in York Electrical Institute. I was asked to take over and develop a pre-apprenticeship program for our organization. I am the youth program director at YEI, and I've been employed in many capacities in the electrical industry, starting out as an apprentice and working my way up through, and I've been as high as a supervisor over many crews in nuclear organizations and other capacities as well. So with that, we're going to move on. Today's topic is electrical industry overview. I'm going to talk about what it is to be an electrician, as well as give some insight into apprenticeships, not just electrical, some things you may want to look for in apprenticeships all around in general, and definitely some in-depth information on our organization as well, York Electrical Institute. So some interesting thoughts to come up with first. Something I need to check real quick here. I guess I don't know if I did the blue button or the blue check, Kevin, for the audio. So hopefully the audio is coming through. Did you know the top 10 in-demand jobs in 2010 did not exist in 2004? We are currently preparing students. I think this is so interesting. We are currently preparing students for jobs that do not yet exist, using technology not yet invented or fully developed, and to solve problems we do not even know yet exist. Jobs we have seen like that are esports. Since I have that or found that information, some of the things we've seen is esports, the development of esports. College, it's a college degree now in esports management and teams. Uber was another one that wasn't around too long ago. Didn't even exist. Tech problems that we're beginning to see that are in green energy, wind and solar. We're finding out that these items don't readily recycle. Things to think about and how technology and education is changing. U.S. Department of Labor estimate today Learners will have 10 to 14 jobs by the age of 38. And lastly, 1 in 4 workers has been with their current employer less than a year, while 1 in 2 has been with the current employer less than 5 years. And that comes from a YouTube channel, a thing called Did You Know 3.0. Okay. As an electrician, we start out as an apprentice. We go through an apprenticeship a certain amount of years, depending on the task or craft that you take up. And you work your way to the journeyman, you earn your journeyman certificate. Usually that requires going to class while you work on the job. It's an earn while you learn kind of setup. That's how the apprenticeship model works. So you go to work during the day, and then at night, you go to school, you take classes. And the way our apprenticeship works without COVID, our apprentices go to school from, say, September into about May or June, like a normal school year. They come to school for 2 nights a week, 3 hours a night. And that's the whole time. So there's days you're working outside and it's cold out, and you come in here to the heat. It's really tough to stay awake, and stay focused in class. So that's one of the harder parts of an apprenticeship, is that working during the day, and then you must still do the homework. You have homework to do. You have classes you must attend. And attendance is mandatory, as we'll talk about a little bit further. So let's go into electrical work here. What is an electrician? And as simple as that sounds, it's a little more complex than you may realize. But an electrician is one who installs, repairs, and maintains electrical systems for the purpose of consumer use in residential, commercial, and industrial applications, as well as the utility operations. We here at YEI, we are the training division of the IBEW Local 229. That's the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Okay. The local has been in operation since 1918. We proudly celebrated our 100th anniversary 2 or 3 years ago. Proud of that 100 years, serving York and the surrounding communities. The school was developed as a partnership between management, which we call NECA, National Electrical Contractors Association, and labor, which is IBEW. And the idea was to better train our craftspeople, our craftsmen. Actually, NECA and IBEW got together in 1941, right around the time of the start of World War II. But it has been a fruitful group of organizations since that time. So we in York got on board not too long after that, in 1951, about 10 years later after the war. We've been training apprentices since then. We actually offer two pre-apprenticeship programs. We offer 2 pre-apprenticeship programs. One is the Electrical Boot Camp, and this is an exploratory program that runs for 6 classes every 2 weeks. And registering is done through the YCAL site. You can see, talk to Mr. Apnell and go to his website. He was one of them. We were pictured up there. He showed us before we got started. And you can register there for the fall or this winter cohorts. This is open to high school. The boot camp is open to high school juniors and seniors only. The other pre-apprenticeship we have is called Interim Credentials, and the program is open to high school seniors only. And boot camp, you have to go through the boot camp first. So a junior would have to take boot camp, and then they'd be eligible to take the interim credentials during their senior year. And that runs concurrently with your senior year. So the interim credentials is actually the same curriculum that our first-year apprentices take, except you would be doing it online. I act as a monitor, mediator on that course. So online, I keep an eye on things, make sure you're on track, on schedule. If there's any major problems that you would have, I help you out with that. We offered actually an enhanced interim credentials where once a month our students come up to our facility, and I take them through the applications or the hands-on portion of training. What they would miss, what they'd be getting, first-year apprentice would get in the field, I teach them here. So we cut drywall, we cut boxes into drywall, we learn how to fish walls and get wiring through the walls. We learn how to bend conduit. We learn how to use power tools a little more in depth than they get when they're in the boot camp class. It is a tough class, I must say, because you're not coming to class, you don't have your peers with you, you're doing it yourself online. It is not easy curriculum. It's college level stuff. Many of our courses here at YER, our apprenticeship classes actually can translate over to college classes. One of the things we are working on is our state accreditation. We already have national accreditation. We're after state. And one day soon, we'll be able to not only offer the journeyman certificate, but we'll also be able to offer an associates in applied science. So that's one of the things we're heading for. I digress there. Tuition. One of our programs at YER are free if you're accepted into the program. The only thing that does require money is the internal credentials. I do like to make sure that that's up front. And at this time, we do have an affiliate organization that does offer up to 5 scholarships for this program. Like I say, the internal credentials is great if you're good at working on your own. It's first year curriculum, it's fast track, and it guarantees direct interview. Now, what we can't guarantee is a job. We'll guarantee you'll skip over the aptitude test and go right to the interview process. As far as our apprenticeships that we offer here, we've been doing apprenticeships we've been doing since 1951. Our 4-year telecom or DVD technician, that's voice data video, VDV, voice data video technician, and a 5-year inside journeyman wireman. So that's an electrician. That's somebody that works from where your med-ed hooks up to your wiring in your house, your building, your industry, and comes inside. Anything from inside that point in is what we work on. And it's talking about, so a journey person that's everybody we have. That's all our general workers. If you're not an apprentice, you're a journeyman. There's only a handful of people that really become master electricians. The last topic here on the left. Master license is usually granted by a municipality. And I'm going to talk about the state of Pennsylvania here. I'm not familiar with states all around us or across the country because it is so varied. But in Pennsylvania, a master's license is usually granted by a municipality upon successful completion of a written exam based on the local building codes and requirements. So York would have one, Harrisburg would have it, Philly. You've got to get it. And some of the townships might have that, and the smaller areas might have a building code where you're required to have a master's license. So someone in your company would need to take that test, and they would be required to be on that job or be part of that job. But beyond that, in Pennsylvania, a master's license doesn't do a whole lot for you. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing to get, because it's a good credential to have, and which could possibly earn you more money. So apprenticeship, like I say, 5 years for our journeyman wireman apprenticeship. That's 5 years of curriculum. I think it's 900 hours of classroom and 8,000 hours of on-the-job training. I'm going to probably repeat some of this again. I tend to get ahead of myself. So moving on here. Education requirements. One of the things we do, I'll show you at the end here, I'm going to give you the link to our website where you can go and apply. But we do require a high school diploma or GED. We do need to see grade transcripts. What we're looking for is we want to know that you passed algebra. Geometry and trigonometry would be good as well. You should have a good mechanical aptitude, reliable transportation, a driver's license is pretty much a must. Unlike many jobs where you go to the same place every day, our jobs change frequently. When I worked as a foreman, I liked the smaller jobs. I ended up running jobs that were usually what I called fast track. Anymore, there are a lot of fast track jobs and it lasts anywhere from a month to maybe 6 months. I think the longest job I did when I was at one contractor for several years was a 1-year project, and that was long for me. I like to go in, get the work done. We move a lot of machinery around and get things back in place, and then we get back out. Other people, some of my peers, other journeymen or foremen, they like the long-term jobs. They're in one place for 2 or 3 years, then that job finished, and they move on to the next one. But as I'm saying, we're constantly moving around. Every couple of years, we're going somewhere else, wherever the next job takes us, wherever our employer needs us to go to. So reliable transportation is utmost important. You must be physically able to do the work. We do have exceptions in our training and on jobs for physical and mental and ways, not everybody tests well. So we have things we can do to help people, but there is a point where you got to be able to get on construction. You got to be able to be mobile. You got to be able to move yourself around and be able to physically lift up to usually a shared load of 50 pounds, be able to carry constantly or not constantly, but on a regular basis, carry 25 pounds. Okay. Our apprentices do put in 2,000 hours of on-the-job training per year. The OJT stands for on-the-job training. 2,000 a year, 8,000 hours total across the 5-year apprenticeship must be. That's a state requirement. You need 8,000 hours to become a journeyman electrician. Also, for York YEI students, York Electrical Institute students must live in York or Adams County. The thing is, no experience is necessary. If you don't have experience in the trade, that's okay. We're going to train you. We will teach you. That's what the apprenticeship is about. Now, if you do have experience, that's great. Even more power to you. That could help you in an interview. You show that and say, hey, it shows how much you might want to be part of that program, but it is not required. We don't expect that. One of the big things too, and when I go to career fairs and talk to other employers, one of the biggest things is showing up and being on time. That is huge today as it was yesterday. Very important. Students are required to sit for most of our students, if you're coming off the street, you're required to sit for an aptitude test administered at our facility. This test is 2 timed portions, algebra and reading comprehension. Upon successful completion, the highest ranking candidates will be contacted and given a scheduled time for a panel type interview. We have panel interviews. So we have labor and management that sit on our board, executive board, and they do the interviews. Board of directors and apprentice committee. Scores from the aptitude test and the interview are combined to give a ranking number, and candidates are placed on a list. Those accepted into the program will pay $0 in the cost towards their education. We make the investment. Once we hire you, we'll take care of that. You would pay absolutely nothing. We urge those considering any apprenticeship to do your research. As Kevin mentioned earlier, do your research on any apprenticeship. You find out, to compare, make sure you're comparing apples to apples, okay? We urge those considering any apprenticeship to do your research. Is the school or program registered with the state? That is huge. That credential is very big. With our boot camp and internal credentials class, we are a registered pre-apprenticeship, so you will get a certificate from the Pennsylvania Department of Labor. That holds a lot of weight. That is a very good credential to have because there are standards that must be met. Okay, so again, do your research. Not only look at their school, are they registered with the state, but look at their curriculum, look at their textbooks, visit the training facility. Some apprenticeship programs may require a sitting fee for the aptitude test. Students paying for their textbooks and for the tuition as well. I myself didn't apprentice through York Electrical Institute. I apprenticed in another capacity, and I did pay for my apprenticeship. It was required to do it. My employer paid it up front, and I paid back later. So this is a really good program we have here. Why? Yeah, that's one of the reasons I back it, is because we're making an investment into our future. This is the next generation that's going to come along and take over. We're going to pass these traditions and these ways of doing our work, the craft itself, on to the next generation. So going to pay for the aptitude test, the textbooks and the tuition, these costs can range, like our facility, where it's $0 to other places where it could cost you up to $1,400 a year. So we just ask you to make sure you make a good comparison one to the next. Education and requirements. So I'm sorry, safety. Moving on to safety here now. A couple of sites. Many of these pictures actually were pictures I have taken on sites I've been on. I won't name where they are exactly, but they really give a good perspective of what we might see on a job site. Safety is huge. Safety is paramount in our world today. It really has changed. One of the things I teach my students in the boot camps is I give them stories of what it was when I started to trade 30 years ago in the early 80s. The things we did then would absolutely not fly now. Safety harnesses, the glasses, the hearing protection. We didn't use them. And I'm paying the price now. Some of my hearing is gone. There's a lot of things done that were done then that aren't done now. The world is so much safer. Construction site is so much safer than it had been. PPE today, PPE for anyone that doesn't know, is personal protective equipment. PPE today usually consists of a hard hat, safety glasses, gloves, which are cut resistant, hearing protection, which could be task specific depending on what you're doing. If you're just wiring up some receptacles, you're not going to need to wear hearing protection unless you're in a noisy environment, which a facility might require you to. And lastly, safety toe shoes, composite or steel. All of these are provided except for the glasses and the shoes. The employers will provide you with safety glasses, but if you have prescription, like I wear prescription glasses, and my safety glasses I actually bought were actually approved safety glasses approved by OSHA with corrective lenses. Okay, so those you would get on your own. But many of these employers, and a lot of employers actually do give you a stipend or a voucher for the purchase of those 2 items. So you could get a discount. If not, they pay for them, just you go get them yourself then. Next I have on the list there is fit for duty. Means not being under the influence of drugs or alcohol, but also it means to be well rested and mentally stable. I had some things in my life a couple of years ago going that I'd really be careful with myself emotionally. I was going through some tough stuff in my personal life, and I was the foreman of a crew. And one of the things that I had to do on that, where I was working, was required that I had to self-identify that, hey, I might have something going on. My crew knew that, and they knew where I was. My supervisors talked to me, sat me down. We talked to a couple different people, and they made sure that I was mentally ready, and they felt I was. But I had to still identify that to my crew and tell them, keep an eye on me. You know, I had to self-identify that. So fit for duty isn't just have to do with the negative stuff like drugs and alcohol. Are you there prepared? Are you really ready for the job, including being well rested? Did you get enough sleep? Are you prepared? Construction site is very dangerous. If you look at that lower left picture, you got some heavy equipment moving around. It's an open excavation. Like Kevin said, there's no barrier behind me in my site here, so I got to really be careful. Part of our curriculum includes OSHA safety, OSHA 30, which is a 30-hour course, OSHA's 30-hour safety course, and CPR first aid certification. Many contractors and employers or customers today require the OSHA 30. It goes over so many different things. OSHA 30 includes elevated work, excavation safety, confined space, electrical safety, tool safety, and the list goes on. It's a 30-hour course. It goes well in depth on what you need to be looking for, what you need to be thinking about while you're on a construction site. Apprentices, again, I'm going to go back to this. Apprentices must work 8,000 hours of on-the-job training over the course of their apprenticeship to become a journeyman. During this time, they will be refining their skills, not only in the trade, but also learning safe work practices and how to do many tasks in a safe fashion, and how to pick the correct clothing when they're going to be working on hot electrical systems. What kind of harnesses must they wear? When must they wear that harness? What type of ladder to use? How to set that ladder up correctly? So it goes really in depth on what they need to do. One of the last things I have there is site specific. You know, when we as contractors, we as electricians and construction workers, we have the basic. We got to wear a PPE. We know what OSHA tells us we can and can't do. We know things in construction in general what we have to do. But sometimes we go to a facility that has a little bit more. They're a little more stringent on what we have to do. Some of the some examples of that would be places I've worked and places I've experienced. In York County include, there's a propane rail car offloading site over near West York. And when I went there to do some work, to change some lights around, we had to spend about an hour going through their safety program just to go through and into the fence and into the compound where they actually do the unloading, where the work needed done. And it took an hour. We had to watch some videos and do a little questionnaire to make sure we understood what we needed to do and how we need to perform our work in that area, because it was a very dangerous environment. Another place would be Peach Bottom Nuclear Power Station. Atomic Power Station, there you required it. If you haven't been there before, you're probably going to sit in security for about a week till they do the background check. And during that time, you're going to take tests. You're going to learn more about the nuclear industry. It takes some time to do. They talk about all aspects of the facility, and you must pass or you will not get into that facility. And lastly, MSHA training, which is similar to OSHA, but this has to do with mine safety. And that's huge here in York County, because there's a lot of limestone mines and quarries in this area. And I know I did do a couple of times, I've been out to one of the quarries out in Thomasville. And again, you have to sit through extra training. You need more specialized training to work in those kind of facilities. So what's next? Now we're going to watch a quick video. Again, I hope I have sound. I don't see the I don't know if I have the sound ready to go. Watch.
I'd say let's go for it, and we'll deal with it.
All right, we're gonna watch a quick video. I'm sorry, screwing up here. We're gonna watch a video. It's a day in the life. And one of the things we have a saying is, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. So, but doing electric work's not easy, but it is very rewarding. And you'll hear some of these young people talk about it. Some first-hand accounts, first-person accounts of what it means to be an apprentice in our program.
Hey Scott, I'm not hearing any sound, unfortunately.
Pause this again. Let's see if I can find
that.
Microphone array, same system.
Scott, I was trying to actually run that off of mine, and I'm not seeing the link for some reason. Oh, wait, hold on. I see why. Forget it. I had it in protected view. Tell you what, give me 1 second here. I'll be able to.
All right, sorry, I cut out everything. I'm not sure how to get it to do this, Kevin. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Hold on 1 second. Help's on the way.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry about this, everybody. Okay. All right. So Scott, I'm just going to shut off your share just for a second here.
Yeah, certainly.
I'm going to take it over. Good.
Yes.
Great.
My Monday starts just like anybody else. Except I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
The job starts at 6:30, about an hour drive. So I was up at 4:30.
It's not glorious by any means. But I love doing it. It's something different every day.
Yeah, overall, it's cool work, and you gotta learn it. Everything's learning on the job, so that's why you go to school twice a week at night for 6 hours, and you work 40 hours a week.
A career as an electrical worker with the National Electrical Contractors Association, NECA, and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, or IBEW, offers extraordinary benefits, including a strong wage package, medical insurance, and a sound retirement program, among many other benefits. This exciting career starts with apprenticeship through a Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, or JATC Training Center, operated by an IBEW local union and local chapter of NECA.
They give you all the tools that you need to succeed on a job site out here, because you only really have 5 years in the apprenticeship, so you got to get the most out of it while you're being trained.
An IBEW NECA apprenticeship offers apprentices the invaluable opportunity to work on the job, side by side with a journeyman electrical worker, and education in world-class electrical training facilities, unparalleled anywhere in the industry. A career as an IBEW NECA electrical worker opens the door to the possibility of exceptional career advancement, from apprentice to journeyman, estimator, and management roles, to even becoming the owner of your own electrical contracting business.
After I complete my 5 years in the apprenticeship program, I hope to pursue a license as a master electrician.
I just hope somebody gives me the opportunity to run a job like this, or get to the point where I've built my career enough to where, hey, that big job over there, yeah, that's Jordan Vasic's job. That's what he's doing.
But while the prospect of becoming an IBEW NECA electrical apprentice may seem like the right path, working in construction is not for everyone. The real-life rigors of the electrical construction trade and the commitment to an additional 5 years of classroom instruction in a local area JATC trade school, as well as 8,000 hours of on-the-job training, should be understood and accepted prior to applying for your apprenticeship. This will help ensure you are making the right choice.
If you ain't learning on the job and you're just trying to show up to get paid, you ain't gonna really learn too much. In class, they'll do hands-on activities to kind of give you a feel for it. But then on the job, the journeyman will slow down and talk to you and kind of, if you ever have a question, you usually just ask them, and they should be able to stop whatever they're doing and talk to you.
Further, apprentice candidates are expected to possess a mechanical aptitude, a fundamental understanding of algebra and geometry, while being on time and keeping a good attitude, utilizing what has been learned in the classroom, online, and in hands-on training applications, in conjunction with your willingness to listen to and carry out direction as instructed, is imperative. This is not only to ensure the job is done properly, but also for the safety of everyone working on the job site. Your attendance is also required on all work and school days, as well as being prompt, as the combination of quality work, safety, and on-time delivery of every construction project is part of what makes the IBEW the very best in the industry. Workdays in construction are different than in most other occupations. The construction workday may start as early as 6 a.m. and may also extend several hours past a standard 8-hour day.
I'm up at 5:45.
My alarm went off 4:30.
Day starts at 5 o'clock, so I try to be at work and park by 4:30.
No, you got to be in class at 7, ready to go. You're late. Go home.
Although IBEW NECA apprentices and journeymen are paid well for each and every hour worked, you may be required to make special accommodations for extended work days or work a 6 to 7 day week in order to complete a job with a tight deadline. Apprentices are also expected to attend school during the week, either in the evening or during the day, in addition to taking online classes through their local JATC. This places an additional burden on the situation to ensure all schoolwork is completed and done properly. Right from the very first day on the job, apprentices are expected to be dressed appropriately for work. This not only includes being dressed for the weather and potential changes, but also to work safely on a construction site. Weather conditions are often extreme, as electrical workers may be outside in the coldest months, as well as the warmest, with temperatures ranging from well below freezing to well above 90 degrees, with high relative humidity. This is not only a matter of your comfort to work well on the job, but also your safety.
The other day I was in a manhole that we have out there. I was in there for about 5 hours yesterday. My feet were warm.
The work of an electrical worker may even be surprising to some, as apprentices may be required to unload trucks, dig ditches, and build basic structures, in addition to many other tasks.
I had no idea of what I was getting into, the extent of what I was getting into when I got into it. I did not know that electricians build things. I did not know that they tear down things. I figured that we just wire stuff.
We got a delivery coming. The guy's gonna pull in over by the pipe. He's got one skid. Want to get that for me?
You should also be aware that the restroom facilities on most job sites are limited to portable units and will be the only option available.
I never even thought about the restroom situation. Never paid any attention until I had to go to the restroom.
The understanding of your apprenticeship experience, both on the job and at the training center, is the key to making this career choice a success. And we hope this has provided a quality look into the life of an apprentice.
As long as you're there and you want to work, it always goes by smoothly.
It's just a day in the life of, is what I do.
Because, you're outside for 8 hours, it's a taxing day. You're out working physically. I wouldn't say it's easy by any means.
It's not bad. I know people think of construction, they think of dirty, and they think of, oh, it's a man's job, but you know what? It could be a woman's job too.
It's all about working together, being organized, and doing it right.
More information is available here on Electric Prep and through your local JATC training center.
You're gonna have to stop, Kevin. I think it's gonna go to the next one. Yeah, there we go. All right. So moving on, as described in the previous videos, are many working conditions we need to consider. Working inside, you got inside, outside, hot and cold, different times of the year. Most of the pictures here that I've taken were during warmer months and when it was outside, but in that video, you saw it was cold. I remember one example, when I worked in the field, one of the things I do, let me get back up a little bit. One of the things I do when I work in the field is my day starts by checking the weather. I need to know what the weather is going to be. How am I going to dress that day? If I'm the foreman on a job, I need to know, is it going to rain? Is it going to snow? That may, prohibit me from doing some of the work I need to do. Some of the work I saw in that video getting done, I recognize what they're doing. And that has to requires a dry environment. You have to be dry. Now, of course, it's not raining, but they have to keep the piece of equipment they were using, they must stay dry or could create a hazard, an explosive hazard, actually. And so I see what they were doing. They're cleaning. They got to keep those things dry. This equipment they were using, it must stay dry. So if it was raining, I would have had to shut that job down and give those two men somewhere else to be for that day or for the duration of the rain. So inside, outside, the weather is very important. And I still, out of habit, I still check the weather every day, every morning, just because that's what I do. I need to know what's going to be happening. a few examples, a few extremes of me working different environments. It says clean and dirty, elevated or underground. Some examples of that would be, a few years ago, I was working at a powerhouse out in near Gettysburg, a new gas-fired power plant. And I was working the night shift. I was working 80 feet in the air. This is in February, okay? And a snow squall comes along. Think about that. I'm up on a boom lift, like you see in the top left there. It was actually a much bigger one than that. 80 feet in the air, and there's snow, and I'm running conduit, and it's just what I had to do. I actually have some pictures of that, and it was a interesting time, but there I was. I had to dress for that. I actually bought a new pair of shoes to keep my feet warm, because the air gets up underneath there and it's very cold. Another extreme example was a remodeling in an elementary school, and we were running conduit in the tunnels. There was mechanical tunnels, electrical tunnels underneath the floors of the school, and they weren't stand-up type tunnels. They were crawl-through type tunnels. So just some extreme examples of the kind of conditions we work in. I've worked in some really nice facilities too. I've worked in the better portions, in the hallways of schools. I've worked in hallways and in the different parts of a hospital, colleges. We work in any kind of environment. The bottom right picture there is showing a waste treatment facility. Okay, top right's a manufacturer out in the Hanover area. That's, every environment's so much different. There's so many different things you could be doing. And that's what I like. And I know most of my brethren and most of my peers, we enjoy the change. I always tell students at the career fairs, I mean, if you ever watch the show, how it's made, we get to live that life. We see how things are made. We see how things are done. We get in behind the scenes to so many different types of industries. And it's really quite rewarding that way, seeing all these different things. One thing to remember too, if you look at the bottom left picture, that's the underground going into an electrical room in a facility. As the job progresses, the conditions change. Eventually, what you see in the lower left would be a concrete floor. It's going to be, the building's coming up out of the ground. You start out with an empty field, possibly an empty area, and then the building comes up. And by the time it's done, you have running water, bathrooms. At the beginning, like the young lady said in the video, it's porta pots. That's what we get to have. It's the way our life is. We get used to it, and there it is. Conditions change as the job moves along, though. All right, I'm going to break for the next one. All right, this is a homemade video. One of our instructors, I'll let him take over and do the talking. Mr. Simon, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mike. I'm one of the instructors here at IBW Local 229. And this is Brandon. He is one of our third-year apprentices. So one of the many great courses that we provide through our apprenticeship training is fire alarm systems. So fire alarm systems are a very important part of any building, as they help ensure everyone can safely exit the building in case of a fire or other emergency. So there are many components to a fire alarm system, all of which we'll teach you about in our program. But today, I just want to share with you a few of the most common types of devices that make up a complete fire alarm system. So first we have the control panel. The control panel will be considered the brain of the entire system. So all the wiring, all the devices, everything reports back to these panels. So next we have the horn strobes. So when the system goes into alarm, the control panel activates these to inform everyone they need to exit the building. So these devices come in all different sound and light settings based on the area and the type of room that they are installed in. Next we have pull stations. I bet most of you have seen these before. So these are typically installed near exit doors in buildings. These are a manually activated device. So if someone spots a fire or other emergency, they can pull these to inform everyone they need to evacuate. Next we have smoke detectors and heat detectors. These devices automatically activate when they sense smoke or heat, and then will send a signal to the fire alarm panel telling the system to activate. Another very important part of systems are monitor modules. So these devices are used to help monitor other systems in the building, such as the sprinkler system. So in the event the sprinkler system is activated, these will send a signal to the fire alarm control panel, which will then activate the horn strobes. The last device I'd like to show you today are relay modules. These devices are used to turn off key building systems in the event of a fire. So some of the most common locations you might find these are in the building's elevator and HVAC equipment. So currently Brandon here is finishing up with some low voltage wiring in our practice lab. So let's activate one of these pull stations and see if the system works. Well, it looks like we have a complete working fire alarm system. Thank you, Brandon. So this is just one of the many great hands-on activities that we offer our apprentices here at IBW Local 229. I look forward to teaching all of you more about fire alarm systems, and please, I hope you enjoy the rest of your presentation.
That's great. There we go. I'd like to thank Mike. He did that for me. I had a couple other videos I was working on, but Mike came through for me and did a great job. And believe it or not, when he tested that system, I saw it just now that it didn't appear that the lights flashed. But if you watch the video on YouTube, they actually do flash. So I thought that was kind of odd. What happens through technology? We actually lost the video, part of the video there. What's actually happening? But then, like you said, he's working in our low voltage lab at York Electrical Institute. We have 5 classrooms and 4 labs. We have our conduit lab, craft certification lab, motor control lab, and then of course the low voltage lab what Mike was in, where we work on DVD or voice data video equipment, Cat5 cabling, and also fire alarm systems like that. So appreciate that. Next, what we have here is a link to our website, York Electrical Institute's website. Yeah, if you can click on that, it'd be great. Thank you, Kevin. Hopefully it works.
Now, can you see the website, or is it still showing the PowerPoint?
It's still showing the PowerPoint.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me just switch that.
So you click that link. If you go to YEI, there we go. Yeah, so this is our website. And can you scroll down just a little bit, Kevin, to the bottom? We can see. And at the very bottom here, if you're a senior in high school and are interested in going through our program here, where it says apply here, that link on the bottom right there, the yellow bar, yes, apply there. That's where you would go. Inside, you don't have to go into it. If you click on that, you go there, and what it's going to ask you to do is create an account. And that account lasts for I think it's like 2 months, maybe 3 months. But you're going to be asked to upload information. It's going to be asked like the things in the beginning that are required. It's going to ask for your high school diploma or GED. It's going to look for wants to see your transcripts, grade transcripts. Also going to look for your driver's license. It wants to see all those things. Once everything's met that's required, our training director, Tim Griffin, Mr. Griffin, will contact you by email and let you know when you will be scheduled for the next aptitude test we do. We test probably 4 or 5 times a year, and we do maybe 6 times a year, but we only interview 3 or 4 times a year. Once we have enough candidates that have taken the test, and then we get enough to do the interviews, we do that then. Can you scroll back to the top, please, for me? Across the top here, if you are in a lower grade, like Kevin said, there's middle school, 9th, 10th graders here. Look across the top, there's a place where it says pre-apprenticeship. You can click in there and it gives you a little more information on the boot camp, internal credentials. At this time, we're not running any adult pre-apprenticeships. It was something we had done in the past and we're trying to find ways, but right now we aren't running that program. But a lot of the frequently asked questions can be found, or answers you're looking for can be found if you just explore your way through our site here and can answer many questions. If not, contact myself or Mr. Griffin. I think we have placed the information at the bottom here. I think it's in here. If you click on this, it'll give you information to Mr. Griffin. Again, I only handle, I tend to lean more towards the pre-apprenticeship and high school programs and dealing with the high schools and youth, whereas Mr. Griffin handles our 5 years of our apprenticeship and the voice data video techs. Create an account, the required information, got all that. All right, you want to go ahead to the last one, last screen here. You know what? Yeah, you have to get out of this and go back to the.
You mean back to the slideshow?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, yep, just making sure. Are we good?
Yes.
All right, there we go.
And there we go. Okay. So in closing, average age of construction workers 41 years old. Employment for electricians is expected to grow by 10% through 2028. Telecom is going to be actually a reduction of 6%, and linemen would be plus 8%. In other trades, laborers and helpers, they're expected to increase by 11%, and welders would be an increase of 6%. What we see today in the trade in years of experience, and people with less than 1 year experience are about 2% of our group. 1 to 4 years experience at 22%, 5 to 9 years of experience, 21%. This is the big one. People with 10 to 19 years of experience are at 31%. And then lastly, people with 20 more years of experience are at 24%. So really, most of our population, if you look at the age of the 10 to 19 years of experience, a rough approximate age would be about 28 to 38. And then those with 20 plus years are 39 to 65. So our group is aging. We're a lot older. We have more older people than we do younger. So trades, this is trades all around, are hurting for people. We're going to need people in the next several years. Like I said, a 10% growth through 2028 is really a substantial growth. This information out of the statistics I'm giving comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a part of the Department of Labor. One thing I do say, though, in final closing here, well, you're welcome to visit your guidance officer career center and schedule a time to stop by or visit our school. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out and contact us. So, and that's the end of my presentation.
Sorry, I had to bring up that person. I didn't know who that was.
Yeah. That was at a job site down in Shrewsbury, as a matter of fact. That was one of the last I was on before I came in here.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll leave that up there in case anyone wants to fact check you.
Yeah.
They can do that. So I had, I didn't see any questions coming in live, but I had a question. So if say you're a student who, maybe they would label themselves as like, I'm not like a technical person. You know, I don't have a lot of like training, like maybe my school didn't have any tech ed class or something like that. What do you feel are some things that you would want to see someone have, just some base knowledge, knowing that you're going to help train them? What are some skills or some knowledge that you want them to have coming in the door?
Good question, Kevin. I mean, like you say, algebra, geometry, an understanding of geometry would be really good too. When we get into the conduit bending, we work with a lot of angles, trigonometry. We get into triangulation. When we get into AC theory, we're looking at sine waves. We get into triangulation there. So as far as academics, algebra for sure, you must have it. But then trigonometry would be good, a base knowledge of trigonometry, something basic, something that's more applicable to work more so than the theoretical portions. And geometry, again, just understand angles and how they work together, what kind of triangles we look at. And things like that. I actually have a little book here. We have a book we can hand out to people that come and ask, and there was information that tells us what we use. That actually answers that question very well. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. As far as mechanical aptitude, understand how electrical and mechanical systems work. If you have a basic understanding of, can you put up an extension ladder? Do you understand the concept between how the pulling a rope and the pulley pulls a section of that ladder up? Do you understand that? These are things, I mean, you do work on your, lawnmowers. I know a lot of young people tend to work on things at home, take things apart and put them back together. If you have that kind of a background, that's definitely a good thing to have. Or if you find difficulty with that, maybe that's saying this isn't for you. It goes both ways, but that definitely mechanical aptitude is a big thing. But it's not required. I mean, if it's something you can learn, if you feel you're a good learner and you've taken some classes or you've helped out somewhere and done hands-on activities, Legos. I see we get a lot of kids that are big Lego people, connects, that kind of thing. Or the hands-on people is who we tend to see around here.
There was, we had an engineering program earlier this school year, it was actually in October, and there was a panel that Penn State York had put together, and one of the gentlemen, he'd been retired for quite a few years, but one of his pieces of advice that I think would be good for anyone listening to this is, he goes, never throw anything electronic away without taking it apart first. He said, I've never thrown anything away before it was in like 100 pieces. He said, just because I would take it apart and say, how does this work? How do they fit this into there? How do they make it compact? How do they, and he just said, he goes, that curiosity will get you really far. He said that desire to want to understand how things work. So I'll pass. Unfortunately, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I'll pass along that knowledge on his behalf to, be curious and see how some of those things work. Scott, I know you had mentioned this. What are some of we like to now call them essential skills because we don't like to call them soft skills anymore because they're not optional. What are some of the character traits and behaviors that you want to see as someone, someone who's, and I know you take a lot of care into preparing them for the job site so they can make mistakes, little mistakes in your classroom so they don't make them out on the job site. What are some character traits that you're looking for?
I'll give you a secret. One of the things they ask, one of the things we look at in our panel interview, what kind of a person are you? We're making it, especially like our organization, we're making an investment in you. We want to know what you do. What kind of hobbies do you have? What do you like to do? What is an electrician? Say you have a bad day and something's going wrong, something hasn't gone right. How do you deal with that? You know, how do you deal with other people? Are you good at dealing with other people? These are things we're looking for. Work smoothly with others as a team. Do you like a team concept, or are you more of an individual? Again, like I said earlier, showing up. I mean, I hear that. I'm sure you do as well. At so many of these career fairs, and you talk to different employers, it's showing up and being on time is massive. Understanding verbal instruction and warnings given in English, be able to hear warning signals. What else? The soft skills be. How well can you communicate with, well, whether it's written or verbal? You know, you got to write. We do a lot of writing. You saw in that video that young people were taught. The one young man was having to do material handling. Even myself as a foreman, getting on that job, I have to get the material. Before I start getting people, I'm ordering material and it's coming in. I get myself and an apprentice. We're offloading, we're stacking, we're organizing. You got to good organizing skills. The other one young man did say that, you know, paper organization, logistics become a big part of what we do. So if you're a good organizer, someone like that, that's definitely a huge skill to have. Communication, I think, is one of the biggest, though. Be able to communicate and what kind of temperament do you have? It can get tough. This environment it can be scary. How do you feel in an emergency situation? How do you deal with those kind of things?
Yeah, communication seems like, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we do like 30 different programs. So we deal with everyone from tradespeople to accountants to, you know, scientists, that, you know, everything all over the place. And it seems like that's the biggest. Can you communicate? You know, can you let us know if you think there's a better way to do things? You know,
Absolutely.
and you've had some time to assess the situation, say, I think we can do it more efficiently this way, or I noticed a problem here. You know, not just, well, I was given a set of instructions and I took them literally and I did them. You know, but then it might have caused an issue at the job site. That communication just seems to be huge everywhere. Do they still do residential work in this type of training, or is it mostly just focused on the commercial type of work for businesses?
Our organization, we're mostly commercial, industrial, utility power type work. We actually have contractors. Some of our contractors are residential, do residential work. One of our fifth year apprentices from last year, when he topped out, topping out is the term we use when you finish your apprenticeship training, got your hours in and your academics done. But he actually started his own business, and he actually came in and worked in the credit union in our building here. We hired him, he got hired and was able to do that, but he does residential. So it's not like we normally do that kind of work. Most of us don't, but we do have the training to be able to do that kind of work. Usually if you're trained to be more of a commercial industrial guy, you're not going to be quite as efficient at the residential, but you can still do it. You understand the concepts and how that has to be done. We don't push that away. So I want to make sure that's clear. We don't ignore it, but most of our contractors do not do residential work.
Great. If I don't have any other questions, I don't see any coming in, I will put in a shameless plug for you. Actually, for us, I should say, is that Scott had mentioned there is the pre-apprenticeship boot camp that's referred to. You can take that when you're a junior or senior. There is both a fall cohort and a spring cohort. So applications are being accepted now. I did put a link there in the chat. If you click on that, it can take you to the application. The fall cohort, that's the one that's going to start in approximately, let's just say next school year, September 2021, and run through approximately November really. That one is just about filled. We can only take, there's 2 cohorts that Scott offers. You can only take 10 per cohort. I think we're about at 16 right now, so there's only a couple spots left. And then there's also the spring, which is available, which starts around January and wraps up at the end of April, typically, barring any, you know, weather incidents. Every now and then it has to go a little bit later.
February.
Yeah, it's like snow at the end of April. So those are available. So if you're watching this and you're interested and you're going to be a junior or a senior, so 11th or 12th grade next year, then you can certainly apply for that and consider it. Yes. Sorry, Ellie from Central just asked a question. Does the link also have recordings of these Zooms? It does not. However, I can paste the other link that does have the recordings for all of the Zooms. So just give me 1 second here, and I'll put that in, because everyone will be able to see that. Even if they're tuning in later, they'll be able to see what I just put in the chat. And I have successfully stalled long enough to find that. And here we go. There we go. So if they click on that, that'll allow them to register and access any of the programs that have already occurred, including this one, which will, once we hit the end button, it'll be ready in about an hour after we're done. So good question. Want to make sure people can view that. All right. Scott, thank you so much. If there's
Welcome.
nothing else, we'll wrap up. Really appreciate you sharing the time. And
Glad to
again,
help.
thanks for all the training that you do. I know you do a great job. I got to post some pictures from when I was there the other day. It's always fun to watch the students work on their final project.
Yes, it is.
All right,
Thank you.
Scott. Well, hey, thanks a lot. Everyone have a great day.
So long.
Bye.